Yo, what's good, guys? We're back with some more Etheria Restart, and I know a lot of you guys have been waiting. We're back, we're summoning, and we're going to be getting into some more videos, but I also wanted to take the time to talk about some of the glaring issues in the game and just give you guys my overall thoughts and trying to be as constructive as possible, because if we're being real here, there are other games that are coming, and when we're really looking at the things that are required for a gacha to succeed in 2025 going into 2026, we need a lot more to be done, right? So we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. Obviously, we got Raymerry currently on banner, and I know people are probably screaming their heads off. Dude, it is another LD that's super busted. Yes, I've seen the videos. I know somebody's going to ask me. But yeah, we're going to try our luck here, and let's see if we can get her. And as little as summons as we possibly can. If it's really little, then I'll go for another dupe. But if not, then we'll just keep it to the one. But I know there's also another character as well. But we got started off with the Ting. I mean, I guess there is that, and I'm hoping I don't have to actually go into my Hydro Crystal. Oh, there. Stupid. Hey, listen. You know, I guess they said we want you to talk about these glaring issues a lot sooner. Like, hey, listen, shortest summon session you guys have ever seen, huh? It's two multis. We out of here, right? And listen, I'm not gonna stretch that because I don't stretch content, guys. That's it. You got it. We're done. I thought I was gonna have more time to talk, but yeah, there's that, right? We got Raymerry. I'm obviously gonna probably make some videos with her. I think obviously it's safe to say you guys don't need to see more content of how OP she is, because it's just been that, right? And I guess that kind of has us float into our very first topic, right? And I think one of the things that I think is just really rough about this game is that, like, fundamentally, right? And let's start off with a lot of the positives. Etheria has so many great qualities when it just comes to the way the characters look, you know, even the potential, right, for world building and developing a universe that people would be really interested in. And what I'm really coming to find, and I had a really good conversation with a friend of mine. Shout out to the homie Life Lessons. He's a lore content creator over on Weather and Waves. One of the things that I realized, and one of the reasons why a lot of companies are stepping away from gacha, is because the selling factor, right? I think now we are way too aware of how gacha works, and trying to just sell a character to me isn't going to cut it. Right, it's going back, and what they always say is that, like, you know, history repeats itself, right? So everything is revolving back to what it used to be, which was basically you sell the character in the story, right? And the thing is that that's now starting to be the emphasis in a lot of different games. Like, for a lot of you guys that don't know, I also play games like The First Descendant. This is also like some of the projected conversations happening with games like Duet Night Abyss, which, yes, we will be playing that as well. But the thing is that, like, yeah, like Raymerry, for example, looks amazing. Like, this is a cool looking character, but do I care? Like, why do I care about this character, right? Like, I get it for the PvP aspect. I get a lot of people are arguing that. I personally love PvP. I personally love playing PvP in this game, right? I get the idea of developing metas, things of that nature over time. And the thing is that it's like, no matter what, though, why should a person care to summon for this character? Why do they care? It has to be more than just this character look cool. How are they relevant to the universe, the lore, etc., right? And even down to the advertising, the drip marketing. Like, when I look at so many other games and how they're developed and how they're pushed, there really is this emphasis on really trying to draw players in and really making them want to play their game all day, be in the universe, have conversations and debates about lore and what character is really stronger than who. Like, I mean, sure, we can maybe speculate some of that from some of the story that we've had, introduced, but like it's not enough, right? And I think that that's also, like I said, it's just an overall disservice. I think that your game can be PvP focused, but even at this point, you see a lot of competitive games, even after all of these years, like League of Legends. Why do you think that they're diving more into their universe and making things like for example, the show on Netflix, so that they can actually tie more of everything that people have maybe read on the character profiles, and actually giving like the community story to tie into this universe that they've got so many people involved in, and you know, all this esports and all this stuff, right? Like that's a whole esports scene with all this emphasis now on story. And why? It's because it draws people in, right? So I know that they're working on the EN stuff. You know, they just released the EN voice acting, so you can obviously, you know, tune in with that. I think that is going to help some, but I really think that there needs to be a huge emphasis on really trying to create events that really draw players in for that type of stuff. Now, I know there's some patch notes that I need to check out, so let me know if I'm talking about some of this stuff and it's just regurgitated info that doesn't really matter because they are making those changes. Let me know in the comments because I got to check them out. But yeah, that's something that I know this is a really, really big thing. Now, the other thing, obviously, and it's the elephant in the room. I know a lot of people have been waiting for my thought on it, and I feel like it's investment, right? I'm capped on gear. When did that happen? Okay, but when we're going over to lattice, right? So I'm sitting on 6 right now, perfect lattice. Man, it's one of those things where I can get why a game will do it. Like every game has it. They have some sort of bottleneck or selling point or monetization thing that they really try to, lean into. And I think one of the things that is really important to understand is you can have a game that has a time metric of playing and developing things over time, but you also want to make sure you really are emphasizing what you're really trying to promote, right? So if that monetization thing is a hindrance to that, it's obviously going to hurt the game, right? And the thing is this, when I even look at some games, there's mind you, I've played tons of PvP games. A lot of you guys remember, for some of you guys that have been in my community for a really long time, we play games like Super String. I've seen games have really well-versed PvPs, but they didn't necessarily have the hype behind them, so they didn't get attention. And one of the things that I felt like would have really been really strong for this game would have been something that emphasized say a no gear PvP, or something that maybe just maybe maxed out stats and stuff like that, but allowed you to then have the anomaly be your gear, right? So if you go in everybody's skills are max, everybody, but your gear is what really is different. And that of course can be, relying upon the RNG and, the luck factor of the fight, right? There's so many different alternatives that they could have done, at least for this initial portion, and then still introduced or had that variation of PvP that was relying upon your innate investment that you put money out there for, etc. Right? I think that more is in a lot of cases can be less, but when we're really talking about that overall value, I feel like having more would have been just a bit more beneficial to kind of layer PvP, and then not making it such an emphasis on the rewards that you get from it, right? So the more that you have for people to do, it's not even so much making it less, but definitely making it more valuable for the time that you're putting in for you to do this stuff, right? So there could have been a lot of different things that they could have done. I'm pretty sure there's tons of you guys that have gone to the the forums and the feedback, and that's one of the things that I feel with this game, there's so many different things that can be done to really emphasize just allowing players to really be able to invest. And don't get me wrong, I am one of those players that have played, put time in. My account is stacked. Most of my units that I use have builds. They are maxed. They're I know I don't necessarily have that exact complaint. You can see I have the investment on my account, but of course the lack the lacking thing is just lattices, right? And again, we can make the argument that just takes time, but I will say that that is one of the things where, like, if you're really trying to get people more into your PvP, you gotta find things to really draw them in. Because even like with the things like the Fearless Arena, one of the things I notice is, like, even with this, right, people would never do this on like an older server. They would have to start on a newer server. So even like the pull for the returner users, I didn't see how they would really jump back into Fearless Arena at any point. It just did seem like anything that they would really want to do, just simply because, I mean, if we're being real, all the people doing it were really, really strong, right? Like, there was no chance they were going to beat those guys. So even just the time metric, like, after a little bit, like, you just can't even compete really against those guys that just have way more time put in, right? So it's definitely a lot of different gaps that they have to fill, and that's why you guys always see, you know, the constant emphasis of certain games being talked about, like Epic 7. Epic 7, I mean, granted, yes, it is 7 years old at this point, but they have started to cover a lot of those gaps so that even for players that have been playing for a really long time, or people coming in as new players, they're able to not necessarily beat all of the older players, but they can somewhat have fun. Granted, we still have the whole debate about whether or not the metas are good, and, you know, that's just PvP. There's always going to be a phase or terrible meta that you got to just wean or work out with another counteraction or unit. But you know, it's just one of those things where I really feel like they could be doing so much more to tie this game together. And I think a lot of it also is to, like, one thing that a lot of players have been asking for that I've been seeing quite a bit is a reset events, right? And what I would say is that with reset events, I don't think that they would necessarily be the worst thing if they were in between seasonal changes. I don't think that that's something that should be regularly just given. But I think when, like, they have like those changes, or, you know, like seasonal buffs and stuff like that, and they're making those adjustments, that would be the perfect window to do something like that. I think it would allow players with the limited you know, quantity of you know, what is it called, not hydro crystals. We were just looking at them. My brain is blanking right now. It is called the perfect lattices. So that's something that I think that, like, is really, really important when we're talking about, like, just even kind of giving some cushion. And I don't think that would have hurt the game, because people would have still been buying lattices. They still would have been trying to get the other lattices that they had. I just think that in those windows, it would allow people to just kind of be able to manipulate how they're able to take advantage of what they may have invested in that may not be good in that next current season. Because even for free to play, they're not able to summon for everything, right? Like, even with the accessibility of, like, every unit in permit summon, not every free to play is pulling for every new LD. So it's not like they would have every new LD to be able to just move those perfect lattices over to. So I just feel like there's just so much that can be done, man. And I feel like it is completely understandable for a lot of you guys that are stressed and are like, you know, I'm going to go play something else, right? Like, I completely get it. And I think a lot of this also kind of spews and kind of rolls over into boredom, because you also don't want the meta in the PvP. Like, I even noticed, like, myself not doing as much PvP as I normally would, just because the meta is still evolving, it's still developing. I like don't know what direction they really want the meta to go into. The meta, like, I think like CC Cleave right now is like pretty dead after Raymerry at this point. Manageable, right? But I personally, at least from where my account is, but I will say it's definitely a real ridiculous unit to have implemented into the game. And it's really strong. There's no one that's denying that. So I will say that, like, for me personally, I will continue to obviously keep putting out content for Etheria Restart. I just think that there's a lot of things that they need to do in order to really get people into this game. Like I said, I just think that they just got to do more, right? It's really that stuff that, you know, you give players more of what they want, and in return, they're willing to throw their wallets at you, right? Like, I feel like the gacha system in this game is actually pretty solid. The amount of currency that you can accumulate is really, really good. But I just think it's those extra little things that really matter to players now, especially with games that are coming out that don't even have gachas altogether. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, obviously my summons, they wanted me to get straight to the point today, because yeah, they just gave me the freaking character. So I may try to go for a dupe because I definitely have enough to get it, but it just all depends on if it's really worth. I mean, to be honest, base copy really kind of makes things go round, and then you just stack up for the very next thing. So that's probably what I'm going to do here, is just stack up and wait for the very next unit, and then kind of go from there. So I probably have a couple more videos. Like I said, it's going to be mixed in with all the stuff we have going on the channel variety wise. But yeah, guys, that's basically that with this one. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.